devices on SuperOffice 7.5. Most of these tips are based on what our consultants in SuperOffice Norway has done so far. Mainly because they wanted to do something more than just regular consultancy tasks. So they have come up with quite a few smart solutions on how to solve different challenges. I'll get some of them here today, so we can look at them. Okay, so this is the agenda that I have put together. I want to take a look into SuperProxy. Because this has been like a buzzword for quite some time now. I just want to show you how this actually works and in which cases we are going to use it. We have several customers running something called Gap Vision, which is a survey solution for generating feedback from customers based on customer surveys or customer service requests and different kind of interactions. So we have made something, we are using it ourselves, and we have made it for our customers. I want to show you how we solved that one. In 7.5 there are some new scripting possibilities for the Windows clients. They don't really function that well yet in the beta version, but I expect that they will when we are coming closer to release. Custom archives, which is quite neat, small little fine thing to use if you're a consultant and you want to solve something very easy for the customer. It's a good filtering function. We're going to look on how to do it. And there's something new called the SuperOffice Web Tools plugin that is new in 7.5. And then at the end, I want to just give you the roadmap of SIM, the implementation method. We are making a complete new one for 7.5 with new functions and new, of course, documents, mainly to support all the new functionality in 7.5. So that would be the agenda for today. How many of you have actually tried to set up SuperProxy for a customer? Yeah? How did it go? Okay?
I think it was quite nice.
Yes.
So we didn't get any challenges. It works well.
Yeah, it works.
It works.
Yeah. And it's a good solution for it's mainly for customers that don't want to expose their solution into a team set or expose their solution onto the internet. They can keep it inside their local network and only expose those parts that is necessary to be able to access the solution from the outside. It's great for customer center and it's great for e-marketing. And you will only pick those small elements that you can actually reach from outside. Everything else inside the home, safe and secure. So just to start off, SuperProxy. This is actually it's a CGI proxy actually, and in turn it is also a reverse proxy. So I'm not an expert on network architecture, but from the Wikipedia site, this is the definition of a reverse proxy. So as you can see, it's a type of proxy server that retrieves resources on behalf of a client from one or more servers. And then you have this small drawing trying to simulate how it looks like. So if we should translate this into a SuperOffice architecture, it would be looking something like this. You have your applications on the outside, which in this case is customer service and the customer center. And then you access through the external firewall into the SuperProxy. And then again, only HTTP calls are done into the local network. So this way, nothing is actually exposed externally without the components that build up the SuperProxy. It's quite genius, and the whole motivation for doing this is, of course, this one, that the only open port you want to open inside your local network is just this only port. No ODBC traffic or other possible yeah, threads if you want. Is that okay? So, this is the question that I often get in this on SuperProxy. It's what do you actually need in a DM set to make this work? First off, you will need the SuperProxy or CGI proxy or whatever you want to call it, which only consists of executables, a couple of DLLs, and of course a config file. And then you will need some kind of handler mapping to just tell the user, okay, if you're trying to request customer XE or SPM XE or the other XEs that we have inside customer service, you have to map it to the correct XE file in your DM set, which in this case is the CGI proxy exe. One of the disadvantages with the reverse proxy or CGI proxy at least is that it can only transfer dynamic content, which is our executables. It will not transfer static content. So everything containing graphics, CSS style sheets, and JavaScripts, and those folders, I'm sure you're familiar with those, and part of the CS installation. You have to place them as well into the DM set. Yeah. So this will only work with the XE files and the CGI files. So this is mainly for the consultants of you. I'm going to show you how to set it up. Okay. How many of you guys are actually consultants doing this kind of work outside on the customer sites? Yeah, quite a few. Then you are well familiar with IIS, of course. So let's just simulate that we now are in the DM set site, okay? You want to create a new virtual website in the DM set, or DMZ, I'm sorry. So I'll just add a new site. I'll just call it DMZ. Now the physical part is of course individual. I have just created an empty folder called SuperProxy. Okay. And since the default website is running on port 80, I'm going to direct this to port 81. And there you have it. So, of course, in a real life scenario, this is not the way it would look. You had, of course, different, separate web servers. In this case, I'm just trying to simulate how this will work. Okay. So this is the physical folder where we should place the CGI proxy and all the dependent files. This is downloadable from DevNet along with the instructions. So when you extract the folder, you will get a couple of files, and the ones you need are the CGI proxy, which is the reverse proxy actually. It has a config file, which we will take a look at later, and it uses two DLLs that also needs to be placed in the same directory. Okay. So if we go back to the IIS, make a little refresh, content view, you can see that the files are here. So that's the first thing you need to do, copy the files, okay? And as I said, it will only transfer dynamic content. And this means that you have to go into the original CS installation and grab all the static files and make sure they also are available in the DMZ. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. They are in the customer service www and in the scripts. on JavaScript. This is the static content that you have to place there. There's no security breach by doing this. This is just files. There's no config files here, nothing that points or says anything about internal ODBCs or servers. So it's quite safe. You want to copy them, SuperProxy, and just place them right here in the same folder. Okay. Now the config file. By default, it looks like this. This file will need 3 parameters in order to work. It will need the internal URL. It will need the server address internal, and it will also need the external address. So I have made a file here that we can copy from. I just grab the content here and I'll copy it. So, as I said, you have the URL for the exe file inside the network that you want to direct this code to. You have the replace, which is actually the internal address. And then you have the replace with, which is the external address, visible from the outside in the DMC. So in this case, we want to make sure that the customer exe, or the customer center, is working. So we'll just let it be like this. Save it. So that's the second thing you want to do. I'll just make a refresh, see if you can see the folders. Yeah, they are here. The last thing is you want to make this, you want to create this handler mapping, just to tell the system that the internal file you want to fetch is the customer exe file. So I select my website, go to Features View, and go to Handler Mappings. And this is a module mapping. So simply click Add Module Mapping. The request path is of course the name of the exe file. So in this case it's customer exe. It asks me what kind of module it is, and this is a CGI module. And which executable is going to be used for this. So choose the C drive proxy exe, and this is the reverse proxy. And the name, you can choose whatever you want. This is just for description. I'll just call it customer CGI proxy. Yeah. There you go. So if I now try to browse the CGI proxy exe, hopefully it will present me with the customer center. Okay, so this is how you do it. It's quite simple. And this will only work with the customer exe. If I want to make support for example, SPM exit for the e-marketing, I have to do the same thing all over again. Just make a copy of the CGI file, rename it to whatever you want, for example, SPM exit, and go into the config file. Make sure that it points to the correct exe file on the inside. It's quite easy. I'll actually try to show you so you can see what I'm talking about there. Just grab these 2 files, copy them, rename them to whatever you want. But I think it's a good practice just to make sure that they have the same name as the physical exe file that we're trying to fetch inside. So, for example, ticket exe. You want to do the same with the config file. Change it to the correct file up here. Okay. And add a new handler mapping for this one as well. So CGI module and choose the correct exe file. Call it whatever you want. This we should make a refresh, and we will now try to browse the ticket exe file. It will give me the login window. So that's how you do it. That's how you set up a SuperProxy. So it's quite easy. You just have to make sure to follow all the steps. And since, for example, the e-marketing is using a different exe file, I don't think I'm able to do anything about this right now. That's because it changes to the SPM exe compare, and I haven't yet made a handle for that exe file. So for every resource you're going to use on the outside, make sure you have placed it in DMZ and create the handle mapping. And that's SuperProxy. Okay. Questions about SuperProxy? Yeah, as I said, you have some resources you can use for this. You have the installation instructions located on DevNet. And one of our consultants have made a quite neat blog for this, giving you some examples on how to do it in a real life. Okay, you should read it. It's yeah, good blog. Have any of you heard about gap vision? Yeah, I think it's only in Norway. I think. But they are doing your. It's quite kind of like a quest back thing. That you do something internal. Based on that, it will send out a survey, and you will get feedback. And each consultant can log in and see their own results. So we use gap vision in SuperOffice Norway, and that's based on technical consultants making an assignment at the customer. When they complete the activity in SuperOffice, a survey will go to the customer with 6 or 7 predefined questions. They will reply, and the customer can log into a website at GapVision and see all the responses. So first we made this for ourselves, and then our customers started using GapVision, and they needed the same functionality. So now we are using it ourselves, so I think we have 3 or 4 customers also using it. So I'll just try to show you how we solved this. Yeah, as I said, you get feedback from your customers on the fly. It's measuring performance and quality of your customer dialogue. If it's a support request or a consultancy. And you will get this nice reports, real time. And of course you have different levels. You can see it on the manager level and personal level. Yeah, so this was the motivation for doing it. We needed our own way of handling this, and our customers started using GapVision. So how does it work? This is SuperOffice. And what we do, at least internally, we do something in SuperOffice. Like in our case, we're just ticking off completed on the appointment dialog. So that's the trigger for sending out the survey. Our customers, they have different methods. They have, for example, completing a project. That will send a survey to all the project members, and they will get feedback with questions. So this survey, whatever you do, for example, put it to complete, will at one point trigger a XML file. Or in our case, just a normal text file. And this is simply because this is the way GapVision required things to be. So we just generate a file with the contents and everything that they require. So this file is also transferred through an FTP site to GapVision. And based on that file, the surveys are sent directly to the customer. And this is done quite instantly. I think it has a 1 hour delay or something. So the customer will receive this the survey with 6 or 7 questions, and they are also individual based on what we are actually done at the customer site. So different assignment types can result in different surveys. So they fill out the forms, checkboxes with different score, click reply, and it is sent directly back where the user or the associate in our case can log in and see the results. So it's not at this point put back into SuperOffice at the customers. They have to still log in. But I guess the next step would be perhaps to make this screen, this one, visible someplace in SuperOffice. So you can stand there and see directly the feedback on that customer. And this works quite fine. It's quite adaptable, so we can reuse what we have depending on how the customer wants it. Of course, they have to have some dialogue with Gap Vision to set up the whole formula, the questions. And based on that, we will just put our routine around it, and it works quite fine. Yeah. Yes.
Is it an identified survey, so you can actually see who does fill it in and who doesn't, or is it gathered information?
Well, the file that we send from us is identified by which request it's concerned, the consultant, and the recipient. So that's the information that goes through the whole loop. But we do not, I think we have statistics on how many we have sent and how many we have replied, but not on the lowest level. Yeah. Not like we have an e-marketing. How many of you guys have been into scripting in SuperOffice? Yeah, quite good. Have you seen, no, of course you haven't, but in 7.5 there are some new possibilities regarding codes, mainly. And I just want to show you some of the new functions and possibilities that we have with scripting in 7.5. I've spoken with, I did speak with Conrad on our development team, which is in charge of developing these methods. So in beta 2, it's working okay, but until release, things should work quite fine. So this will be informative for some of you, some of you don't, but in total there are 34 new events in the system that we can hook onto and do stuff. Okay? These are some of them. Most of them are for the new quote functions. Okay, so you can make logic in SuperOffice based on actions you do inside the quote. On the first day, on Monday, we spoke about these framework agreements that they said this is not a part of quote yet. For example, if you sell a bundle of 1,000 units, this could generate automatically 10% discount. By scripting in the Windows client, you can actually do this. So depending on the amount you sell, you can actually adjust the discount, as an example. And think about if you have the whole quote connector thing with the ERP integration, then you have lots of logic you can put into the connector that can control everything that happens in SuperOffice. But if you run a standalone quote in SuperOffice without connectors, then there's no connector making sure that we do things the correct way. So in those cases, I believe we actually need scripting to be able to quality assure things that are put into quotes. Yeah, as I said, we have support for it as long as you have the quote connector. If you don't and run standalone, then you might need this. So this is actually on how we can control the application with scripts. And this is the new add or edit product line dialog. It works like this, that based on what you enter into the dialog, you can do something with the application. And as I said, this is a window-based application. Sorry, Windows-based function. So this will not work in this way with a web application, because the scripts I'm talking about here is Windows scripts. So, for example, in this case, let the quantity control the discount, as an example. Another thing that we spoke about on Monday, somebody wanted some kind of warning for the guys that's actually sitting there and approve all this the codes. Because as you may, I guess you saw that you can put restrictions on codes. Make sure that some kind of leader has to approve this code. And that gave me an idea, so I just made something quite fast, just to show you how we can do this. As you know, you can create selections based on codes that needs approval. But you will not get something directly in your face, like a dialog, saying that you have codes to be approved. Okay. So I have made this tiny script to actually make this for us. Because what I want to achieve now is that the guy that's sitting there approve all the codes gets some kind of warning that when he comes logging into SuperOffice in the morning, he will be warned about these 4 codes that needs to be approved. I'm not going to go into details about the script now. It will be a part of the content that has been delivered after the expandable. So first I want to go in and actually create a quote that needs approval. So we did have one, just a second. We did have one quote that actually needed approval. So in this way, because I logged on as John Rowling, which is a service manager, and he got this warning that one of the quotes has been made and need approval. Now I think this is something that our customers want to have, because they want to be warned about quotes. Outstanding quotes that needs to be approved. They don't want to be able to search and create selections and make sure to have routines to check this manually. So in this kind of way, you can create like just an easy message box giving you the, for example, the quote number or the customer name or whatever. And that way you can click OK, go into the quote and find the correct quote that needs approval. This one. So it's just an example on how we can do it. We have actually made some similar stuff in our office, just to warn our consultants if they have any preliminary bookings in their calendar in the next 2 weeks. So that's another way to make sure that you are on top of the situation. For those of you that are interested, I'm just going to open this script quite fast. It just uses the on startup function, quite easy. It will create a connection to the database directly and do whatever you want it to do. This is a chip pull script that you want to encrypt. because there are stuff in here that shouldn't actually be available for everyone to read, like the password of the CRM7 user. So if you are going to use this one, make sure to encrypt it. Very important. This is all old scripting. This is not web scripting. It does not utilize the net server. It uses the old COM function in SuperOffice. The COM APIs. And the way of attaching or enabling script is the same as before in 7.5. Just place it in the SoArch scripts folder. Tick it off here in admin, and it should work. Any questions on this one? Okay, so as I said, this is just a collection of all the smart things that our consultants have done. It does not have anything to do with development. It's just just a little bit outside the regular consultancy tasks that you expect them to do. Have any one of you been done something with the custom archives? Yes? So yeah. This is it's simply just a way to manipulate the way SuperOffice looks a little bit. And you don't program anything, you just use the archives and functions that are there. And you just make sure that they are presented once again, but with a filter. So you can add tabs containing filtered content. It's very easy to choose where this tab is supposed to be located. You can choose it wherever you want. It could be on the main archive or diary or wherever you want. You can have restrictions to it, which is actually just a filter or a search criteria in the same way that you're creating a selection. And you can also set some default columns. So, the way to do it. Again, this is a client-side function, so it has to be done on each client. Works in the Windows environment. So I go into my installation of SuperOffice right there. And what I have done is just create a subfolder here called SOCRM, Custom Archives. And then the application will default go in this folder and look if there are any config files that it needs to interpret before it touches SuperOffice. I have created a file called the document filter.conf. It is just a plain XML file. I will not go into details again, but I'm just going to show you the main blocks on what you should be aware of. As you can see, you can put all kinds of properties on this. You can say that it's part of the document, the content document. It will use the contact archive as host. That's where it resides. It will use an existing archive provider called document. And you can also specify values, because here you say that type should be equal to 24. In my case, since this is documents, it will say that all documents with document or template ID 24, which is offers, should be displayed in this tab. And it has some default values and other kind of restrictions and stuff, so just if you want to use it, just let it be like this and change only the things that you need. And then it will work quite fine. So, it's there. If I now will log back into SuperOffice. Yeah, here's the code pointing. Go to my company tab. I have a new tab called Contracts. If I click this, it will give me a filtered view of the activity list, displaying only documents with type equals contract. I know that many of our customers say that the activity list can be quite long, especially in projects. So they want to filter out important documents like contracts or offers. And this is, as far as I can see, this is the best way to do it in the Windows client. I have set some default columns, 6 default columns here. The whole archive here is configurable, of course. You can do exactly the same thing that you can do with a normal activity archive. You can add and subtract or remove columns. And also you have a sort order, and you can of course filter by clicking on the columns. It works the same way, but it has a filter. It does not require any license. It works in the Windows world. You have to make sure that it's distributed to all new clients. Before you have this SO loader function that can do this easily for you, and now you have to figure out how to do it yourself. So, but there are techniques, of course, by scripting and distributing things that you can make sure that this is actually located on all clients. At least I have gotten this question many times. Can we filter contents? Show only important documents. This is a super easy way of doing that. Yes?
The config file, where is the initial file located?
Sorry?
The config file.
Yes.
Where is it located initially that you used for?
This one is just grabbed from DevNet. Yes. Yeah. And I think there's a good blog there as well. And of course, this will be a part of the content after the exam also. You can get it there as well. It will work on sales, appointments, documents, persons, I guess, everything. It will work on every archive you have in SuperOffice. So if there's anything you want to use and reuse and put a filter on, this is the way to do it. So that's custom archives. Any more questions to the custom archives thing? No? That's the demo. Okay, in 7.5 there is a new thing called the Web Tools plugin. I'm not sure if, well, I guess most of you have installed it already in the hands-on session yesterday and today. In the remove programs, we have this small thing called SuperOffice 7 Web Tools plugin. This is new in 7.5. And the reason why this has been implemented is that R&D, the old way of doing this is by just having some JavaScript code in SuperOffice, doing these calls to create and all the other applications. And now that the JavaScript and I think I've discovered some security breaches in Java code and something, then browsers like Safari and IE and Chrome have started to tighten the grip on these add-ons. And therefore this would also affect the code inside SuperOffice. And we all started to get this warning. Do you want to allow this program to do this and everything? Okay. I guess you've seen that message many times. So the way that they handled this in 7.5 was simply to shut down all this JavaScript code running and implement a browser plugin. And this is a cross-platform plugin that will work on most browsers. So what is it? First of all, it's new in 7.5. It's a browser plugin to assist interaction between client applications, for example, Preapp, and SuperOffice Web. It's built in something called Happy, which is a cross-platform architecture, and also some ActiveX components. It was initially developed for Safari, but it works quite well, so they started using it on the other browsers as well. And then all of a sudden it just became cross-platform. This is silently installed together with web tools. As far as I can see, the installer will not tell you that it installs it. It will just call it web tools, and that's it. But the plugin will be installed on the preferred browser that you are in. So if you are installing this in Chrome, the web tools, it will install the Chrome plugin. If you then switch over to another browser, you have to reinstall this plugin. It will not install all the plugins at once. So this is perhaps, I guess, a source for error, I guess. That they just be aware of it. If you like to use different browsers, it has to be installed twice. It is much less registry dependent than before. It doesn't really bother what's in the registry. It just connects to the service that it wants to use. And you will have much less prompts that it asks for user access. Yes.
Is it installed in the default browser, or what happens if you have Internet Explorer and Chrome installed? Will it install on both, or only the default browser?
No, I think it installs in the browser you are actually starting web tools from. So if you have SuperOffice started in Chrome, it will add it to Chrome. It does not support 64-bit browsers on PCs yet. Okay, so if you are running a 64-bit environment and a 64-bit browser, then it will not work on a PC. On OS X and Mac works fine, but yet only 32-bit on PC. Okay, so just to simulate a little bit how it did work in 7.5, just to make sure that you'll get the idea. Before, there were some Java code, internal code, triggering trade app and all the other stuff. And this in turn generated these nasty warnings that tell you that something is trying to access a local resource on your computer. And then, after saying yes to all those boxes and allow, it got a hold of the tray app doing its stuff. And this didn't really work quite well if you have several instances doing things at once. It tended just to don't react at all. And if you, God forbid, click do not allow access, then you have to be a smart guy to go into registry and enable it again. That's the way it was in 7.1. Now in 7.5, it's much of the same flow, but instead of this internal code that is being tightened down now, it uses a browser plugin that will actually fire the same code, but it will do it outside the browser session. So the browser will not really care if you're running it. The plugin will just work fine. So it's just a small change, but it will actually be a lot better for us. Much less debugging and much less prompting of the user. So, just to sum up some of the advantages of this. It can also detect the version of doclink or tray app or mail link, depending on you're running a Mac or Windows. This is a huge advantage for example, our support departments for debugging. You have this diagnostic page, which is quite fine, that you can use to just see if everything is installed correctly. I'll show you that later. Yeah, no more user prompts to allow access to local resources. The plugin will just do it, and it will work. Yeah, it's a cross-platform plugin. Works in most browsers. And have it not dependent on any Windows mechanism yet anymore for calling these custom protocols. If it's TRAP or if it's anything else, mostly it's TRAP because that's where we have log documents. So, still we need some way of debugging this new function, and there are a lot of stuff you can do. I'll just show you this ASPX file that is on top there, because this is actually a great function for consultants and support for debugging.
Isn't it a drawback if the browser kicks out the plugin? For instance, if it feels it's slow, or sometimes it happens.
Yeah, I mean that the plugin can prevent the browser from doing stuff. We'll see. Yeah.
I guess that will be a source of complaints. I know.
Yeah. Yeah, I did some changes to some config files in the last demo a couple of minutes ago, so that's why it's being slow now, I think. Okay, for all these things, let's just go back to the PowerPoint and go through all the points instead. So, yeah, I'll show you this later when things come over running. You have this plugin diagnostics page, perfect page, easy to debug, gives you all the information you need about mailing, TRAP, everything. It's located inside Chrome in this example. And the way to get the fetch of plugins in Chrome is by using this Chrome plugins command in the address line. In the IE, you have to fetch them in the tools menu, and in the Firefox, you have this Firefox menu and add-ons and plugins panel. So it will be displayed as a normal ActiveX component or plugin in the browser. Its default installation location is SuperOffice 7 Web Tools plugin directory inside the SuperOffice. It only consists of one DLL, which is this NP SuperOffice Web Tools plugin DLL. Yeah, and now from the file settings menu in SuperOffice, it will tell you if everything has been installed or not. And now it can do this because it has this plugin, because it communicates directly with all the local services. And it is also easy to remove and reinstall. You have it in the add remove programs. No response. Okay. Okay. So there was supposed to be a demo here, just let's wait with it. Okay. Anyway, the way what you will see in this plugin Diagnostics.aspx is information about the components you have on SuperOffice. It will give you a state on, for example, adding reported safe. It just tells you, is it safe to activate this plugin? Will it create problems with the browser? That, I guess I would, it's about what you spoke about. It will give you all kind of information. Some of them are relevant, some of them are not. The most important is, of course, is it detected? Is it active? Has it been installed? which is a combination of some of the other points here. The plugin valid will give you a true or false value. Is it working? It will do some kind of tests towards the tray app, just to tell you if it's actually working. It will also give you information if this is actually the compatible version with the current version of SuperOffice that you're running. And it will also give you the exact version of doclink or mail-link, depending on PC and Mac. Yeah, and it will also check if you are running a 64-bit browser on a 64-bit Windows PC, and in those cases it will not work yet. So for support and consultants, this is a perfect tool for debugging all the components like mail-link and tray app. Gives you all the information. See if the no answer. Okay, so just be aware of it. It is a perfect tool for consultants. So, we have started creating a new framework for implementation. We use this all the time internally for all our projects. We use it very seldomly in the full scale. We use only small components of the whole framework. We had some clear goals when it came to developing Theme 7.5. Of course, the main thing is, of course, to support all the new functionality, with quotes and everything. So make sure that workshops that we have will also map all the functions and needs for quote functionality. So this is just a roadmap, just to show you, give you an idea on how long time it is until we are done with this. We are in a phase now that we are actually producing all this Theme 7.5 material. It has been delegated to all the local subsidiaries. We are all doing some work, and it will go through a translation period, and then we will have some acceptance, and hopefully at the end of February or March we will have a complete Theme 7.5. And we have to go back to the way this will be distributed to partners. We have done some FTP stuff before, but I hope that we can get some other kind of channel. In the future, this will of course be part of the partner web, and it will also it will be available for you guys there. Yeah, so that's the roadmap. For those of you that are not familiar with SIM, we have made this framework just to avoid complications with customers and ensure a good implementation of SuperOffice. It's all about interpreting what the customer wants the correct way and have the same picture as them, instead of producing something and delivering something that is completely different from what they actually asked for. So these drawings will actually describe the way the customer explained it and all the different interpretations depending on who you are, actually. So, as you can see, the sales guys up there in the right corner, they are selling this bright chair with all the funky, yeah. And when it comes down to it, at the end, the only thing they actually just wanted was a simple functionality. They don't want the whole scale and stuff. They just want easy functionality, right to the point. So this kind of illustrates why we have SIM in SuperOffice. So, in what way will 7.5 actually affect this framework? First off, as I said, we have to add some functionality for the new functions in SuperOffice, which is quote and integration server, or ERP sync as it's also called. We have to support it with adjustable workshops, configuration documents, and of course task descriptions, which is a huge part of SIM. So yeah, so the workshops are important. That's where we are actually mapping up all the needs for the customer. We want to keep focus on the basic principles in SIM, which is to keep it small, simple, easy to use, understandable, generic documents, just to keep it lean. And in the future, we will get a new set of best practices telling you how to do things, yeah, the recommended way. It could be installations and workshops and all the kind of stuff that we do on customer sites. So in the future, when we get the partner web up and running, it will be a common set that we can use for partners and internal people. This is the inventory of SIM. You're not supposed to see anything of this. I just want to give you a short description on what it is. These are all the documents that build up SIM. Okay, so as you can see, all the yellow stuff is changes. All the red ones are the things that we are obsolete, we should remove. And you have a few green ones that we should have. So this will at one point be the new SIM framework. Okay. Any questions on SIM? This is about managing customer expectations. Have you been to Burger King lately? Have you seen the sign outside the store telling you how this burger should look like? That's the one on the left side. And when you get the burger, pay lots of money, the burger you actually get is the one on the right side. It's been taken from the most attractive angle, they have added cheese to it, and they have also fluffed it up to make sure it looks even better. So, when we are talking about quotes next year with our customers, make sure that the customer expectations are held on the correct level. It's very important. If they expect to get the whole solution, everything working automatically, and we deliver below that, then we have failed. Other way, it's much better to get the expectations on one level, deliver a little bit more, and then they will be happy with quotes. And this goes with quotes because it's a new thing, and of course all implementations of SuperOffice. Yes, then we have 10 minutes left of the sessions. Are there any questions to any of the stuff that I have shown so far? Or other stuff? Yeah, demo, let's see. No, the demo does not work. Sorry. You should try it out in the images you have. It's called plugin Diagnostics.aspx. It will give you the information that I wrote in the PowerPoint.